Welcome to Devlog 2 of my horror game, The Doctor. In this video, most of the game gets finished. There is a lot happening in this video, so stay tuned. If you watched the last video to the end, you would know that the basic AI is done. Now, I want to make the Doctor actually affect the player. I will of course make the AI more complex in the future, but for now I want to get the main functionality of the game done. When the player is attacked by the Doctor, they won't die, but they'll be badly stunned. Similar to Fortnite, they'll be downed until someone heals them with a medkit, or they heal themselves with a medkit that they previously picked up. The game will only end if everyone is downed and none of them have medkits. Firstly, I headed over to Mix Mode, downloaded a crawling animation for the player, and then imported it into Roblox Studio. After that, I wrote down some code that fires if the Doctor gets too close to the player, which downs them. Here's how it looks. Also, if the player gets revived, then a standing up animation is played. As you probably saw in the video, you can barely notice that you've been downed, so I need to make a jump scare. This should be pretty easy to do, as I've made jump scares in previous games before. Firstly, I imported the jump scare slash animation for the Doctor. Then I made a clone of the Doctor, which will play the jump scare animation to the player. This clone is in a little dark area, and the player's camera will be teleported to this part to play the jump scare. Here's the finished jump scare. Now that the player can be downed, I need to make them able to be healed. Currently, the player can pick up the medkits, but they can't use them at all. I made a nice looking healing GUI. Then I was warned. Here's the finished healing GUI. Sadly not as detailed as I wanted, which really sucks. After a lot of coding and testing, here's the finished self-healing functionality. Keep in mind it is all in first person. I only go in third person so you can see the animations. After that, I made it so you can revive other players if you have a medkit and are still alive. This was done pretty easily as I just copied the code and fired it for the other player too. Here's how it looks in the game. Now that most of the game's functionality is done, I need to finish it off and make the game playable. Just so you know, once the functionality is done, I'll make the start screen and multiplayer joining functionality, which will be the most boring part of the game. Then once that is done, I'll build a map for the game. Firstly, I made it so the Doctor gets faster and angrier as more notebooks are picked up. It looks a bit janky at the fastest speed, so I wanted to get a scarier running animation for when the Doctor is at its fastest. I headed over to Mixamo and found this fast run animation. As you can see, it does look a bit goofy like this, but in game with pressure it should look pretty scary. After that, I started working on the main script for the game functionality. For now, all I needed to do was spawn the Doctor in when the game starts and end the game if everyone is downed or if the players get all the notebooks and escape. I'll return to the game functionality after the start screen and lobby system are done. Now I need to make the start screen and the lobby system. This shouldn't be too hard, but it will take a long time. After this, all I need to do is build the map and the game will be done. Firstly, I made a little corner design which will be the background of the start screen. The player's camera will be attached to this part. Now I needed to make the logo, and I'm not great at designing logos, but here it is. After that, I added a black gradient to the left where the logo and the buttons will be. I then designed a button and added a few buttons to the start screen. I forgot to record a few parts here, but I finished the single player button functionality and made it teleport the player to the game. This took ages but finally works. After that, I made the multiplayer lobby functionality as you can see. This was by far the hardest part of making the game. It took me 6 hours to do. Coding can be a nightmare sometimes. Especially when you encounter those bugs that seem to multiply like gremlins in your code. Hours can turn into days and frustration levels can skyrocket. This made me think, is it possible to make games without coding? This is when I found out about Soba. Soba is a new game creation app, which is like Roblox, but it's a lot easier to make games without needing to learn how to code. The website has a lot of tutorials and resources to help you learn how to make a game. Imagine being able to show all of your friends a fun game that you made with ease. You can make awesome games on mobile, which is unheard of. So head over to their website, the link is in the description, and sign up now using my referral code, DARKY. This could be the beginning of your career. Also, if you'd like to find out more about them or talk to other possible Soba users, join their Discord, the link is in the description. Now, as you can see, the game actually needs a map. Usually there'll be a choice of different maps, but to start off I just need to build one. Since building can be quite boring, I decided to do all of this map building on live streams. If you watched, then you're very cool. The progress was great until I found a huge problem with the pathfinding. The NPC wasn't walking through doors properly. But luckily after 2 days, I found out that I could put pathfinding links on either side of the door, so the doctor just walks through them normally. After that, I carried on building the map. It took like 10 hours or more to make the foundations, but here's what they look like. They're really good and the perfect size for the map. I then started decorating the map. This was the more fun part, as I could see the map looking better and more realistic the longer I decorated for. It was still very boring. While I was decorating the map, I ran into a huge problem. I opened Studio one day and my character was slipping around like ice instead of walking normally. I didn't change any code, so I was really confused. I asked a bunch of people for help on Discord servers and eventually made a dev forum post when no one could help me. Almost a month after the sliding error first happened, this guy gave me the fix. It was to do with a new Roblox update that was very glitchy. Thank you so much. But knowing me, nothing goes perfectly. So this fix caused another huge issue. Since the model is a different size now, all the animations are fucked up. Look at this! I have to import so many animations now. Why? Yeah, I had to spend a couple hours re-importing all of the animations and fixing them while doing it. It was so fun. After re-importing all of them, I tested them in game with one of my subscribers, and the animations were inside the floor. So again, I had to fix and re-import all of the animations, which took me another half an hour. Oh well. After a long and very boring while, I finished the main decorations. Now it's time to finally make the game playable. Firstly, I needed to randomly generate the keys. These will help structure the game more, as each key will unlock another section of the map, which will have more essential notebooks to collect. I made a lot of key spawning parts for each key, as you can see here. Let's see how it works. Oh, that might be a bit hard to find. In order to make the keys easier to find, I need to add a particle effect to them. I headed over to Photoshop and made this white ring gradient. I'm not great with particles in Roblox, but after a while I managed to make this effect. And personally, I think it looks quite good. Anyway, I also redid all of the key parts on the map, which took me a long time, and eventually it was working perfectly. I then spent hours going around the map and doing the exact same for the notebooks. Then I went round once again and did the same for the medkits. Each item has hundreds of different possible spawn points now. Now, to finish off the game functionality, I need to make a big pop-up announcement when players pick up the last notebook that tells them to head to the exit to win the game. This wasn't difficult at all to do. I made the GUI, which for now is just a red vignette with a shaking announcement text in the middle. After that, when the last notebook is picked up, I just made it play a lot of sounds. I mean, a lot. The doctor also has very loud thumpy footsteps from this point onwards. Here's what it's like in game. Now that the main functionality is done, I need to add mobile support to my game. In case you didn't know, most players on Roblox are mobile players nowadays. So by making the game mobile accessible, the game's audience increases by a huge amount. This was pretty easy to do. All I had to do was make a GUI with all the buttons that mobile players need, then implement them into my current scripts. Firstly, I made proximity prompts show for interactable items and doors. This was pretty easy to do with just 4 lines of code. Secondly, I made a sprinting and crouch walking button. This was also really easy, and all I needed to do was trigger the same function when the GUI is clicked. Finally, I needed to make medkits work on mobile. This was also somewhat easy. I just needed to add another button and make the medkit code trigger when the button is pressed. Testing this was quite difficult, but I did get it done. Here's the full mobile functionality. Before the game's ready to get tested, I need to finish off and add a few things. I made it so you can drop your keys. This is useful in case someone with keys gets downed, therefore can't unlock doors, or simply if players want to share their keys. After that, I worked on the game's finish screen. It was easy, but I got warned again for using a screenshot from the game itself. What? Anyway, I just deleted the image and finished the code. Here's what it shows. Also, after about 10 seconds, the players are teleported back to the lobby. I do know this looks like a very cheap mobile game, but this finish screen is just for now, and eventually I will add a cutscene. Now that the game's playable, I think, I need to test it. I made a script that only lets specific players in the list join, and I told my patrons that they can playtest the game. They found a lot of bugs, which I then spent a while fixing, but now the game works perfectly. I won't go into any more detail about the bug fixing because firstly it's pretty boring, and also I just didn't record any clips of me fixing them. I will mention though that I had to completely recode the lobby system in the start screen, which took me a day. The game is getting closer and closer to releasing, but I still need to add a lot more features, such as character picking, donations, game passes, more decorations, and other small things. Before you go, join my Discord. We do Roblox giveaways, sneak peeks, and you may get early access to the game. Bye.